very, very welcome. It's great to see people in person. I'm still getting used to having faces in the room, but we're delighted. We do have our online cohort. I think you can see Laura here on the screen. She's hi Laura. She's
tiny little square.
Laura's managing. So very welcome to everyone who is at home or in the car or still at work and joining us from far-flung places, maybe from the beach. You're very, very welcome. I know some of you have been talking to Brian already, but for those who haven't, you're especially welcome. And it's basically a roundtable discussion on all things workplace wellbeing related, and wellbeing related, I think, in general, in the broadest sense. So I've got a couple of questions to ask. I'm going to introduce our panel now in a moment. And we'll throw it open then to the audience and our online participants as well, if you have any questions. If you have any questions throughout, please put them into the chat or the Q&A, and Laura will be able to help you. And if you have any questions then that you'd like to ask in person to the panel, you can just raise your hand and Laura will get to you and we'll put that to the panel. So before we do the introductions, my name is Rosemary Deneher. I'm one of the program managers here in Tangent. So if you do join us on the course, you will see me hopefully. Yes, this time you will see me, apart from online, and be hearing from me. And I can help as well with any application queries. And Jane, my colleague here down the back, who's been busy answering questions, will help with any specific queries in relation to the application process. So I'd like to introduce Brian Crooke, who I think doesn't need an introduction because I think most people here knows him already. But Brian is the founder of Workplace Wellbeing Ireland and the WorkWell Institute. And also like to introduce you to Tom James, who I don't think most people would have met earlier on, head of Healthy Ireland, but more importantly, an ex-student, so probably be able to give you even a better insight than we can into the course and what the course entails. So, as I said, I've got a couple of questions I'm going to kick off, and then we'd love to hear from you guys as well. We are on a little bit of a tight schedule. We will finish up at half, so if you have any questions after that, just come and chat to us. Very happy to take them. And Laura, I keep looking at you this way, Laura, but you're actually this way. Laura, if you have any questions, just jump in at any stage. If it's relevant to the conversation, we're happy to take those as we go as well.
Sure.
Thanks, Laura. So, Brian, I might start with you, just in terms of, I suppose, given everything we've been through in the last couple of years, the general workplace wellness landscape and what has changed and what are the trends?
Yeah, well, I think it's a very exciting time at the moment. We're seeing an awful lot of change, a lot of companies with focus on well-being, genuine focus on well-being, moving away from random acts of wellness to making this more of a strategic priority. In terms of what's happening, and we just look at this just from an Irish perspective, first of all, in terms of legislation and policies, there's just at the moment, there's two significant pieces of policy going through the Oireachtas. We very recently had a code of practice on the right to disconnect. There's just lots of momentum moving in the one direction. Internationally, we had the ISO 45003 just published last year, the world's first global standard on psychosocial well-being in the workplace. Companies creating roles, dedicated roles, as opposed to just a CSR plus well-being or HR plus well-being. We're seeing that focus. And of course, delighted to see published late last year, we had the Healthy Workplace Framework published by Healthy Ireland. Lots more happening in that space, but I'm sure Tom is going to talk a little bit about that.
Great. And we'll just stay maybe with yourself for the moment. So you've partnered with Tangent, and I know you're talking to some of the group earlier around this course. So you've helped deliver and develop the Postgraduate Certificate in Workplace Wellness. So I suppose my question would be, who should apply to do the course? Or for those people listening in, why would I want to do this course?
We'll start with why. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. So why would you apply? Well, anyone that's passionate about making a real change in their workplace, creating a healthy, sustainable, positive place to be and to work for yourself, first of all, but also then for your colleagues. And there's a real trickle effect with that. And then who would apply? like it really doesn't matter your background now. It really doesn't. I mean, historically there might have been this idea that it was a HR thing, it was an add-on to a HR thing. Certainly you can be a HR leader and absolutely you can apply and upskill. But I guess it's anyone really who's coming from whatever background, who's interested in moving into this space and learning about this area, who wants to work, let's say, with their current organisation to develop something internally, maybe to start with an employee resource group, move that on to generating a role there, or maybe you're external, you're looking to work with an organisation, more consultancy style. It's those kind of people I think would really find benefit in the programme.
Great. Tom, we might come to you for a moment, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your work in as head of Healthy Ireland, and why did you choose to do the course?
Sure, yeah. So I'm head of Healthy Ireland in the Department of Health, and for those of you who don't know, Healthy Ireland is a cross-government initiative with a lofty goal of trying to improve the health and well-being of all citizens of Ireland, and we put a particular emphasis on it being everyone's responsibility. So it's not on the individual, it's not on government, it's not on employers. So in terms of kind of the relevance for why I suppose Brian asked me to be here today, aside from the fact that I'm a graduate, is we have launched our Healthy Workplace Framework. So one of the areas that we lead out on is well-being within the workplace. So there's some exciting stuff coming down the tracks. If you take me back to why I applied, I was a senior leader in the Revenue Commissioners, really no health and well-being role at all. And I was just really interested in the topic. So I started looking at health and well-being at myself. I was in my, let's just say, mid-30s for ease of reference, and I started thinking about health and well-being from my own viewpoint. I then started thinking about it from my team's viewpoint. So I was leading a team within the workplace, got involved in Brian's community, and went to a lot of the in-person events. I saw something there. I thought there's something in this, and then the course came along, and I thought, I didn't really know where it was going to take me, but I knew I was really interested in learning more. And it was as simple as that when I applied. There was no lofty plan, and I guess happy circumstance and the fact that I actually did the course has led me to where I am now.
Excellent, and we might explore that a little bit further on, just in terms of the impact it's had on your career, maybe and choices since. And I'm sure people will be interested in that, just in terms of career pathways and progression. So thanks, Tom. Just to stay with the course for a second, so what advice would you give somebody? I suppose Brian's looking at it from the perspective of delivering the course. What advice would you give somebody considering applying for the course? I
just apply. You're here today, so you're clearly interested in it. Like, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't apply for this course. I mean, look, it's a postgrad, so there is, there's work involved. You got to commit to it. You have to have the support of family and friends around you, but that's the case for any level 9 course you're going to do. I will say there's huge support from the faculty and from Brian and from Tangent. It's a great place. We had 4 weeks in this room before COVID hit, and in fairness, it was brilliant the way it was flipped overnight, but I missed the energy in that room, and I'm quite jealous of the people who get to do the 3 modules in this room, because what you get the most out of is the interaction with such a variety of people. And we had everyone from senior HR leaders, wellbeing thought leaders, physiotherapists, social workers, managers, self-employed people who just wanted to know more, and that brings a great energy in the room, and you learn so much from not talking to like-minded people, but from talking to people who, I suppose, like-minded in the topic, but completely different backgrounds, and that's one of the things that Tangent really pushes, is collaboration and working together within the groups, and I found that really beneficial.
Yes, I can honestly say across the courses, if you will come to study in Tangent, you will be working with your peers. There's no lone wolves in this establishment. And just to pick up on the diversity point, I mean, I guess it's one of the great things about the courses, Brian, and you know this from having been involved in the other cohorts, is just that richness of experience and the diversity of people from all ages, stages, backgrounds, career levels, different industries, ethnic backgrounds, and you will be working in groups with them. And I think everybody bar none would say, well, it can be challenging, and there's lots of hard work involved. It's one of the most rewarding parts, of the course. So that's great, Tom. Thank you. Just a little bit more, maybe then, Brian, about the course, and to pick up what Tom was saying. So it's 3 modules. Can you tell us briefly, or just outline some of the topic areas, and maybe just a little bit more of detail of what you'd expect to study on the course.
Sure. So Module 1, Fundamentals of Workplace Wellness, very much an introduction, and we start by looking at pretty much what is well-being, the individual focus initially. We move that on to the what is workplace well-being, obviously the workplace culture, and looking back on what is workplace health promotion. Getting into the frameworks, just putting the frameworks out there, because there's quite a few frameworks out there. How does you as a student look, analysing which framework might suit my organisation best, and learning from all the frameworks that are out there. Still in Module 1, we're talking about leadership, the importance of senior leadership commitment and buy-in, and then creating a shared ownership for wellbeing across the organisation. So where grassroots meets the senior leadership team. And even as practical as possible. So even our assignment for Module 1 is, for the group assignment, is developing a business case for a wellbeing. Either it could be a program at your workplace, or it can be, let's say, a role at your workplace. And you're working in a student team, so democratic process. You can pick one of your own companies, maybe one of the interesting companies. Work together as a group, develop that business case. Then when you have that finished, you'll be presenting that back to your fellow students. We might go to the main room, pitch that back. We'll have some guest judges there. We're effectively going to be the management team, if you like, that you're pitching your business idea to, your wellbeing plan to. That's Module 1. Module 2, we're partnering with the School of Psychology. That's on organisational culture, a bit of a deeper dive on a culture of health. Again, talking about leadership and the role leadership has in that area, but also line management, the crucial role of line managers, your peers as well, and the importance of that. We'll go even deeper on stress, burnout, trust, silence in the workplace, those kind of topics. And then for Module 3, we're back to the very practical nature of project policy implementation. And it actually gets to, I think we got great feedback the last time, and we're going to do the very same again with the host projects for Module 3. So we'll be inviting in real world companies facing some real world challenges. They're going to submit those challenges. So the students will, in groups of 6, will get to work with these host projects, the host companies. And again, we'll get back into the main room. All the companies will come. We'll have you'll present back your findings to the company, and give them a report then as well. So really practical, and learning from each other, learning from everyone in the room.
Great, very relevant and very real experience there. We might just take a slight pause there and just throw it open to the floor. And Laura, I'll come to you on the line now in a second, just if there's any questions. Anybody has any questions for Brian? I have more, but I could ask, and Tom, obviously, I could ask questions all night, so I'm just going to throw it open to the floor there. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question for Tom in relation to what sort of challenges do you have in revenue commissioners when you started thinking about workplace wellness?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was just reminded, you forget all the work you do, and you forget all the interesting things that you cover in terms of the detail. But in Module 1, my group actually chose revenue to build a business case for a wellbeing program. And obviously you're doing that for an academic purpose, but it's very real. And some of the stuff that we come up with, including the name RevWell, is now in Revenue's Statement of Strategy and Annual Corporate Plan. So what we did in this room and then online because of COVID actually became a real thing, because I, with the permission of the group, because I didn't have all the intellectual property, brought it to the organisation and actually pitched this as a thing, which became the wellbeing programme within the Revenue Commissioners. So to be fair, it's a very progressive organisation, and senior leadership were open to the idea. But it wasn't without its challenges, because you have to make the case. And what I learned here and what we did here actually enabled me to do that.
Amazing. And just maybe following on from that, Brian, could you tell us a little bit about the links to industry and guest speakers? Like, so who can our students expect to hear from on the course?
Well, I won't say who we're expecting this time, just in terms of dates and stuff.
Sure.
But maybe I'll touch on who we had last time, and it'd be similar, I guess, in terms of who we're expecting. Last time out, so let's say, take for example, the creating a shared ownership for wellbeing. We had Jennifer Grogan from the ESP and to talk about their wellbeing champion network. We had Dr. Mark Rowe, a global figure in the area of lifestyle medicine. He came in initially, the individual wellbeing piece. We had people like Gary Nagel, head of HR for Kuna and Nagel. We had David Gillick was kind of a guest speaker towards the end, kind of rev things up for everyone towards the end. So we'll have people in who are focused on a particular area. So for example, we're going to extend the future of work sessions this time around. So I'm really excited to get people in to talk about, let's say, the 4-day week. That's a hot topic at the moment. There's Irish companies going through a pilot at the moment. We'll definitely be hearing on that. Other areas of interest like hybrid working, what's going on there? How are companies dealing with the challenge? One of the benefits, I suppose, of being the kind of leading workplace wellbeing Ireland is it's a community of 4,000. I'd say, there's a lot of HR leaders in there. So, if there is a demand within the student group, I'll put the question out there. I'll have a few contacts they would ask to come in and deliver a few guest lectures.
It's a really grounded in industry and gathering, and very relevant as well as very topical, because those are just so recent areas of discussion. That's great. Laura, I might pop to you there for a moment if you have any questions online that you'd like to ask us.
Yeah, we do. We've got a good question in here. So does the course provide guidelines on mental health and how to incorporate within a wellbeing strategy?
Excellent question, Brian. I might put that one to you.
Sure, that's quite detailed. What we will do is look at ISO 45003, for example. So that's probably your gold standard globally now for mental well-being in the workplace. So that's something maybe as a group we will look at and discuss and analyse the benefits and the merits and how you might go about introducing that in the workplace. So something along those lines we would absolutely discuss.
Great. And any more questions online?
Yeah, a question for Tom, just a kind of a two-pronged question. Sorry, I feel a bit like Big Brother here, just a voice. So Tom, what did you enjoy? And then on the other side of it, what did you find the most challenging thing about the course?
Oh, that's...
Sorry, that was good. Laura, you stole my question. It's one of the questions. Somebody got there before me, and that's okay. That's a great question.
So what did I enjoy the most, I think, was the interaction with my peers, and as I said, that 4 weeks was brilliant, but unfortunately we switched online then, and you become very close because you have to with your group, and we managed to make that work online, and in fairness, Tangent provided the Blackboard facility where you could have your collaborations online. So what I got the most from was actually working with people and hearing and seeing other people's views of things, and I'm still very good friends with some of the people that I was on the course with. What did I find the most difficult? It was challenging moving to the online environment in the middle of it, because we had set out on a path, and of course, like the rest of the world, it was no different, and we had to pivot very quickly, and it was tough doing the presentations online, especially as we all had to do our bit and your technology and all that. But no, there's very little downside to the course. Once you're willing to commit to the time, and by the end of it, when you submit your final assignment, of course there's a sense of relief that you're out that other end. But no, I don't. Nothing but positive things to say.
Yeah, and I think something we hear time and time again is just that camaraderie, I suppose, that's built up, and the learning, that peer-to-peer learning, and granted you had to do it the hard way online, but this group will be privileged because we'll meet them online, and in person you'll be in a blended format, so that's great. Do you have a question?
Sorry, yes, just a question for Tom. Tom, what's the time commitment, like over and above lectures, what's the time?
I mean,
will I give what we estimate?
Maybe what do you expect?
I'll give you the estimate. I'll give you the estimate. You can say what you actually put in.
I was going to say Tom is going to give the real words.
So
what do you try and expect then?
What we estimate is 200 hours per module. So it's 70 hours is for your contact time, so your actual the lecture time for each module, plus pre and post work for that. 70 hours is estimated for assignments for each module, and then 60 hours is estimated for additional reading, additional learning, additional resources, or any kind of other discussions you might have. 200 hours per module, 3 modules. How was that?
Yeah, I don't think that's far off. I didn't keep a track of the number of hours over the module, but there are, there's certainly times when you have to go and read things, and in between lectures there are, you have to read chapter 3 of the WHO guideline or whatever it is. The assignments then, you know, again, with a lot of support you get so much support and tutorials in terms of how to do it, but it takes a while to get into the whole finding the journal that you're looking for, you know, building, because this is like ultimately their academic assignments as well, so it has to be grounded in evidence, otherwise there's no point in doing it. And that's one of the things that you come on here, is to get away from what some people perceive as the fluffiness of well-being to actually the evidence base. And some of, like, I still use some of this, every now and then I go back to my assignments in my current role to sort of, like Ron Gotzel and some of those articles, they're still very useful to me now. So yeah, weekends, yeah, you have to commit, and then the evenings, but it is a relatively short period of time, and it's definitely, the more you put in, the more you get out.
And I think I suppose important to say, just in terms of the time commitment, and I think you've mentioned this already, Tom, you know, that there will be times when the assignments are coming up that there will be more work involved, and then in between, and obviously there's downtime in between the modules. But one of the things we can do and do that may help that is we will give you the schedule in advance, so even before you start, you know, when the assignments are due, you know, for every particular module, so you can, you know, map it out. Because I guess it's a very, you know, a lot of it is experiential learning, and being part and being in the class, being in attendance is a crucial part, it's an integral part of the learning. So the timetables are already set, so we have an idea of the days that you need to be in every person. You'll know when the assignments are due. I suppose that's what, you know, you're committing to in advance. If you know, and that possibly makes it a little bit easier. Yes.
So just adding on to that then, I just assumed it was evenings, but it's not.
Two options. So there is an evening, so there's an evening time cohort and there's a daytime cohort. Evening time, mostly Monday and Wednesday evenings, 6 to 9 p.m. If you prefer the daytime cohort, it's mostly pretty much 10 to 5. So your 2 sessions are done on a Wednesday, 10 to 1 and 2 to 5 p.m. There will be some overlap where let's say we get a guest speaker in. It makes most sense to have the guest speaker on the Wednesday evening, 6 to 9 p.m. because you can't ask the guest to come in twice. So the guest 6 to 9 p.m. on the Wednesday. So if you're doing the daytime cohort, you will probably get a morning off and you'll do 2 to 9 p.m. on that day. But you're talking maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the entire program for something like that.
And I just say both of those timetables are up on the website, so if you have a look at the Workplace Wellness, you'll see the timetables, and both of them, the daytime and the evening, are there.
I suppose my real question was, because that was just a follow-up to that, was is there much difference in the course that you initially delivered? I don't know how long this is going on. You know, you talk about the new evidence that's coming in and the ISO. So has it changed much in the 2 years?
I mean, we're looking at that at the moment, but it's not. I mean, for the format structure is the very same. But I'm looking at areas like I was just saying to the team outside, future of work. We had 1 session on that last time. That's going to be expanded.
Do you mean the potential for people who do it? Is that what you mean?
Oh no. That's all. The assignments remain the very same, as in the structure, the module, the structure, the assignments. I mean the actual sessions. Like we only had 1 session last, and 1 3-hour session dedicated to the future of work.
Okay.
I'm already looking at that, saying, look, we need at least 2 there.
Yeah.
Policies, legislation, what's going on internationally and in Ireland. I think we had 1 session on that last time. That's probably going to need another bit of time. There's just those kind of areas. It's more expanding what we already have, I'd say, as opposed to, there's definitely, we were very happy with structure and the content. It's just maybe some tweaks. Yeah.
And that would be, I suppose, typical of the structure would remain the same, but obviously in terms of content, we would do a review after every course and you know, just to update, and certainly in this case, maybe new legislation or new thinking in the areas. We'll take one more question, and then I just
question over there as well.
Yeah, oh, great. And we'll definitely hang on if we need to finish. We need to probably just let the online people go. We'll finish up on time, but definitely hang on, and we'll be around to answer questions. I just did want to come back to Tom just on the career change, which was very interesting, and maybe ask that question. But sorry, did you have your hand up?
A very quick question.
Sure,
you were saying there's a daytime, nighttime cohort.
Yeah.
Say, for example, you're on the nighttime cohort and life gets in the way and you can't make it. Can you drop into the daytime cohort?
Yes.
Can you kind of?
Yes, and we'd ask you just to keep in contact with us on that, because I suppose we track things like attendance, and just to make sure that if the two cohorts aren't exactly running simultaneously, that you're not dropping into the wrong week.
Yeah.
So in theory, or
yeah,
in practice,
absolutely,
yes, but you keep in contact with, you'll have a dedicated program coordinator who will be in contact with you throughout the course. But yes, if we can facilitate that.
I think we'd have to say that would be the exception as opposed to the rule, because
Absolutely.
there would be group work ongoing and you'd be dropping into a different group then, so just to be aware of that. But I'm sure we can, you know.
But certainly if it was once off,
Yeah.
you know, you need to
That's what I mean. Yeah, once off, you have to.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Ah.
Laura asked me earlier, so there you go. That was the question. Brilliant, okay. But it's great to ask it, because then somebody else is probably
a good one,
thinking as well. I just wanted to, I'm just really conscious of the time, but I wanted to just pick up with you, Tom. So you mentioned your change in career. So I suppose we'd love to hear, well, I'd love to hear more about like the skills you learned on the course, and you know, not even maybe how you've implemented them, but that as well, but just what impact it's had on your career direction, because I'm gathering it's like the impact.
Fairly profound, yeah. So I mean, I worked for 19 years in revenue. I was a senior leader for 11 of those years, I think. So operational teams, etc. I had started implementing a bit of wellbeing in my own team, and then post-course I became chair of Revenue's National Wellbeing Network. So on top of my day job, because I was so interested in it, and then an opportunity came up for the role of head of Healthy Ireland as a mobility position within the civil service. So it's advertised across all senior leaders in the civil service, and I applied. And it was a big thing to do because I never worked anywhere else after my original university course. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind I wouldn't have even got in the door of the interview without having this qualification, because it's all very well having an interest in things, but to actually have a third level qualification in the area and be able to show that you've implemented that within a workplace. I still felt like a bit of an imposter the first day I started, as we all do, I think, when we change roles. But like, you know, the workplace is a big part of what we do. I'm very lucky that my policy lead in it knows more about workplace wellbeing and health promotion than any of us will ever forget. She's forgotten more than we'll ever know, I mean. But like, the skills and the understanding of what it actually means to build a sustainable workplace wellbeing program from a policy national. So we're now trying to roll out this so that businesses and leaders understand what that looks like. So of course it was hugely beneficial for me to have come through this and be able to actually speak with a little bit of authority on it. Still learning. Every day is a school day, and the minute you think you know everything, you're probably going to be in trouble. Yeah.
And I have one final question before we let everyone go. Would you have gone for the role if you hadn't done the course?
No. Well, I might have applied, but one of the criteria was you had to have a relevant qualification, and I wouldn't have had a relevant qualification, so no was the answer. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting signals from all angles here. Laura, we're going to let you go. We'll be here in the room, guys, if somebody does have a question. Can I just say to the online people, like, that was great. And if you have another question, just springboard@tcd.ie. Laura will pop it in the chat. So that if you have any questions that we didn't get to or we didn't answer, please email us and we'll be happy to get back to you tomorrow. So thanks, Laura, and we'll log off.
No problem. Rosemary, can I just ask one very quick question just before, I know we're on time. Just someone is wondering what the employment prospects are in wellbeing, if someone could just give a very quick 30-second answer.
It depends on the individual. It depends on their, you know, you have your qualification, but you still need to match it with a bit of hustle. But my Work Well, I have a Work Well newsletter I share every single week. This year, I've had a new opportunity every single week, and last week I had 4. I had three open wellbeing roles at TikTok and 1 at CISC. That's just this week. It's not like there's not hundreds and hundreds of jobs in one company, but there are opportunities there, and I've never seen as many opportunities as I have now. So a qualification plus hustle plus relationships and hard work. There's opportunities there.
And Laura, I'd suggest again that person maybe just drops us an email, because obviously we can introduce them to the Tangent even ecosystem, you know, and the various supports available there. So that's great. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, that's great, Laura. Thank you, and thanks to everybody online. And hopefully we'll see you in person soon. And drop us an email if you have any further questions. Thanks, guys.
They run a tight ship, don't they?